Hey, everybody. Welcome to Critical Conversations live from Denver. It is Friday night. Let's make sure everything is all good here. It is wonderful. And as you can see, I am joined by my beautiful wife, Melissa.
Hello.
We are very happy to come to you today, this Friday, the 21st of July in the year of our Lord, 2023. What a great time to be alive.
Woohoo.
It's funny, that little music bit I do for a minute before we get going is my way of getting a sound check in before we get started. And if you saw us before the cameras turn on, it's get a little jazzed up before we get going.
White people jig, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Got that white man undercut over by. Anyway, good stuff. Happy to see all the usual suspects here. I want to thank Pa Mom for signing up as a new member right before the show. Thank you very much. I also want to thank the super chat that we got here from Darla. Thank you very much for that. Very, very appreciated. Always appreciate support of the show. And happy to see all the usual suspects in the comments here. Yes. That's right. Always getting a rise out of Melissa. That's always my primary goal in doing all of this is to get a rise out of her.
I think that's true. I think that's the primary goal of his dad jokes too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Really. You just cannot be dissing the dad jokes. It's just,
I bought you a whole book of dad jokes.
Exactly. She was kind of the reason there were about a year of those things.
That's true.
Yes. Oh yeah, the year of our Lord Xenu.
Oh yeah, maybe you should start saying that.
That's true. I probably should do more of that. Maybe I should we do our
Hail Xenu.
Do our critical cards and everything. Maybe we should we have a quote of the week. I don't think we need another thing of the week. I was going to say maybe I could do a dad joke of the week, but I kind of like dad jokes every day. So you got to follow me on social media. That's what I will say. For a fairly regular, not daily, but fairly regular litany of humorous memes, jokes, and certainly dad jokes and wonderful sayings. Okay, so, I guess we should probably get going on the show here. We have a few things to go over. First thing is, we had a topic we wanted to discuss, and Mel had a quote of the week for us. Oh, but before we get into that, we're going to give that a little bit of time, actually.
Yeah.
So, first we're going to do our Snuggles, Not Struggles cam. There it is. Aww. There's our little bundle of furry joy. In real life, he is actually guarding the door to the studio right now, but there he is earlier today on the throne in the, the alpha chair on the couch, which he will race me to. He will actually, when he sees that I'm actually going to sit down in that spot right there to kick it and watch some TV or something, he will race up and jump onto that pillow.
Yes.
And
try to get there first.
Oh,
always.
Absolutely. And he's never, ever. And he just, I think he really believes that he is the alpha in our relationship, which constantly surprises us because, he's so tiny and he is so cute, as you all can see there, but he is also, he's so young. He's just such a little boy.
He's 4.
He's 4 years old and he absolutely acts like it. He is, we've had him for about a year now.
Yeah.
Almost.
It'll be about a year. It'll be a year, I think, the 30th. Yeah.
Yeah. We got him from a rescue and he is just our, Agent Benson, Agent Benstenstein on the job. Cutie McCute face. That's our little doggy.
Yes.
But he will get this thing. From that exact same spot, I can go 3 rooms over into the kitchen, totally like 50 feet away from him, probably. Just barely. We feed him out of this little ball thing he has to play with. A bottle what?
Bob-a-lot.
Bob-a-lot. There you go. We feed him with one of those. So we have to put the food in there, and then he has to kind of push at it to get it out because it prevents him from eating too quickly. He will snarf. Just rah, 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 rah. He will consume in like 3 seconds an entire serving if we don't slow him down. So we do that. But all I have to do is just barely start unscrewing the top of that canister, that thing, and he will come running from the other side of the house, but call his name.
Ignored.
Oh, completely ignored, right? Just totally. Oh, I didn't hear that. I have no idea what you're talking about. But somehow always on the alert for the food.
He knows when the food is. And he is
so
always
funny.
like, if you drop something on the floor and it's right by him, it's gone.
Oh yeah, no. Because we refuse to do table scrap feeding.
Yeah, we don't want him to be a little.
Don't want him to become
crazy
a little
bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He needs, and it's the discipline of it and it's weight control and all that. But oh my God, it doesn't stop him from trying. And when he gives you those great big eyes of his,
oh, it's so hard to resist.
You know, oh, don't you want to feed me? You know you want to feed me. You're not going to eat all that food. I know you're not, because I see you throw it away sometimes. So you might as well just give it to me right now, because I'm sitting right here and I'm so hungry and I want it right this second. Give it to me right now. And he just won't stop staring at you and doing that. It is awesome. Okay, so now moving right along from our favorite topic, Benson. Mel has a quote of the week and some commentary regarding the...
I want to talk about the actors and writers striking, mostly the actors, since that's the new part. But so here is my quote around that. It is from Duncan Crabtree, Ireland, the union's, that's SAG-AFTRA, the union's national executive director. He said, actors deserve a contract that reflects the changes that have taken place in the industry. Unfortunately, the current model devalues our members and affects their ability to make ends meet. And I want to talk about it because, I don't know, I mean, it's something I've always been interested in, the film and TV world. I'm also always been interested in people getting paid fairly. But I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around it, especially with the actors. I think most people realize the writers get paid a pittance, but I think a lot of people think every actor is like Brad Pitt and getting like $40 million a movie, and like 90% of them aren't. Maybe more.
I'd say more.
I was researching it today, and most actors make about $26,000 a year.
Yeah, if you're actually going to work as a theater or in commercials or extra work or trying to get on a show. It's amazing, actually, because we assume I watched it on a different but reinforcing note.
Yeah,
I watched of all things, there was this Wham documentary on Netflix the other night, and I grew up with George Michael as in Wham, right, with his friend Andrew, and it was a very fascinating little hour and a half movie about their whole rise, and I remember living through it and watching it happening, and thinking. I didn't like them very much at the beginning. I had to learn to acquire the George Michael's flavor of music, and I eventually did, and I really appreciate him as a songwriter and a singer. But it was interesting because one of the comments he made was, here we are on stage, making videos, doing concerts, and you go home and you realize you ain't got nothing to show for it.
Right.
There's no money. There's no money there.
All the record executives take all the money.
Exactly.
And that's what the Hollywood executives are trying to do. They want to not, like with the streaming services, don't want to do residuals the way you used to get residuals. Like the way it used to work, like when network TV was bigger, is every time a TV show would air, the actors and people working on that show would get a residual check. May not always be the biggest amount of money in the world, but at least you knew, especially if that show went into syndication repeats, like you knew you were going to get steady money. But now with the streaming services, they don't want to create a similar thing, you know, like every time someone watches the episode or they get a cut of the subscriber fees or something, you know, like they don't want to do that. So that's one of their problems. And it's really undercutting their pay because now they're not getting residuals as much anymore. And the other big fear, which I think is something we should talk about in general for most careers, jobs these days, is the AI problem. Because, I mean, if you saw, what was that movie where they superimposed Carrie Fisher, and even in The Mandalorian, they did
the
that
Star Wars
with,
movies,
yeah, they did that with Luke Skywalker. And it's getting kind of creepy how well they can sort of superimpose people and make people look like they're there when they weren't there. Deepfakes, yeah. And that's what actors are worried about. They're worried that they're going to take their image for one movie and then just use it in perpetuity.
In perpetuity?
Yes, thank you. And they're worried about that, because what if they do that and then they don't pay you every time the movie airs?
Right.
Or the TV show airs.
That's right.
And so you're not even getting residuals for that, much less you can't act anymore because they just took your image and have somebody do a voiceover.
Well, I'll tell you, I was really surprised to see art imitating life so quickly when one of the, I think we talked about this, one of the later, did we talk about this here, the Black Mirror episodes?
I don't remember if we talked
I
about
don't know
it
if we
on here or
mentioned
not,
this
but
last week.
I think we did, yeah.
Yeah, that whole Black Mirror episode, right? How the very first one of the new season talks about how you can, you know, sign over your rights to your digital likeness, and somebody else can then end up using images of you that are not really you, but it's a likeness of you, and therefore people will think it's you, and they can use it as much as they want for as long as they want, and they don't have to pay you anything or very small pittance.
Right.
And this came up in the writer's thing.
And the other thing that you have to think about with that is not just the pay. I mean, that's very important, but like, what if they use your image in a way that you're not comfortable with? You know what I mean? Like, maybe they put you in a movie about a topic that's totally against your values. You know, maybe you really don't want your image in some nasty horror movie with lots of dead bodies and stuff. Not that wouldn't bother me, but it's like other people that might bother them, you know? So it's like, or some other type of movie, you know, or maybe they put your image on top of a porn star body or something.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, just all these things that could really mess up your life, and you can't do anything about it. Exactly.
So this is, and it's a murky gray. I think we can all agree that it is that nobody has it all figured out yet as to how and what this new tech and new AI developments are going to mean for all of us across the boards.
Right.
Any more than, you know, there was this massive fear about automobiles and how they would replace horses and buggies,
right, which they did.
The rise of technology and the progress of technology. And this is an important thing. And we've had, you know, generational incidents of techno fear, right, or technophobia. But at the same time, you know, new things can be scary. And when these new things enable bad actors, this is where my concerns come in, more so even than the... I feel for and empathize with and want support for the writers and actors,
of course,
and creators out there and artists out there, right? Because there's this very bizarre idea, especially out there among non-creatives and non-artistic types, that computers can somehow generate art that is going to be meaningful and lasting, or can write scripts, or could write stories. And all those things are doing at the current level of AI technology is amalgamating, coagulating.
Yeah, they're just copying, pasting, rearranging.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right? Based on algorithms. It's not like it's really thinking through a story or something. So are some of those functions that are done by AI also done by us in our brains and our processing? Of course they are. But you have to take away all the executive, creative, imaginative stuff, because the computers are not doing any of that. They only have the apparency of doing that.
Yeah.
And because they're not doing that, you're going to see on a long term, it doesn't come up immediately. On the short term, it looks amazing. On the longer term, you're going to see these problems or these issues or small problems grow and become bigger and more obvious, just like we're seeing climate grow and become,
I mean,
the
you
changes
think
become more
movies
obvious.
are fakey and formulaic and cheesy now.
Exactly. Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, we joke about movies for the lowest common denominator, but if AI were writing scripts for movies, then that is what you would get by the very definition and way that it goes about doing the work that it does. Even if you told it not to, it still has to go find all the various, or as many examples as it can find of what it's trying to create. And so you're always going to end up with that kind of problem, amongst many others. So, it's just, you know, new stuff, scary stuff, and stuff that we don't want to, I guess I'll end with, all I sort of think is that we don't want, to get culty about it. Right. Hey, it's a great segue into my next topic here, right? What we're going to talk about tonight. It's monologue time. Time to talk about avoiding getting culty, right? And I wanted to talk about this today because I was talking with a fan who's here today earlier on Facebook, and was speaking about this issue and problem of criticism and divisiveness and the problems and whatnot that can occur in the community. And I know I feel like I probably talk about this too much, but I always feel like where I can take an opportunity to get a lesson across, or life is imitating, the kind of points I want to make or something like that, then I'll take advantage of it. And now is certainly one of those times. And Henny said at the beginning of the show something that stuck with me. Let's see if I can find the comment she said earlier here. It was almost when we just got started. Yes, she said here, great thinking topic as always, how to avoid the cult mindset. I think this requires insight into oneself, not feeling superior to others, not having
contempt.
Yeah, I'm going to go down here. Contempt for others if their point of view differs from your own. Spot on, Henny. Absolutely true, right? Noticed that comment earlier and wanted to comment on that comment.
It's a difficult thing to do, not have contempt for someone that's got a different view. It's not easy.
Well, it's not easy. And what I was going to say, the reason that caught my eye is because, yes, it absolutely does require us to be self-aware and reflective. You'll never get anywhere in life if not. Otherwise, the only attitude you're ever going to have, if you cannot be reflexive, if you can't be inward looking and self-criticizing, if you don't have that, then the only thing you're ever going to think is everybody else is always the problem and you're fine, and everybody else is always it's all these other stupid idiots who are always the problem. And sometimes that's true. Sometimes that's absolutely true. Sometimes it is all the idiots around you.
But and usually other times, it's like a two-way street. Yeah.
Exactly. And other times, maybe not. And if you only have one solution to your problems, or you only have one way in which you go about solving your problems with other people, I'm right, they're wrong, fuck off.
Yeah.
Then that's going to not be a net positive for you going into the future.
Right.
You will have problems, and you'll have problems because that kind of thinking, all versus them, right?
Mm-hmm.
All my way or the highway kind of thinking, I think is where I was trying to go with that, is that's culty. That's a culty mindset. And how do you avoid that? It's hard. It's like critical thinking. It's like I talk about with critical thinking. It's a discipline. This is not a thing you just kind of snap on, or you are never, ever going to be culty again. Right. I guarantee you're going to be culty again.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I guarantee you I'm going to be culty again. Right? Am I going to be as culty as I was, though? Culty? Hopefully not. Hopefully not. That's what we can discipline ourselves for, is how to climb a ladder, climb a mountain, climb to a new plateau where we don't have to, oh my God, I'm making bridge analogies. But, it's kind of like, get into a place where you recognize that you to not have to make the mistakes that, that you made yesterday.
Right.
That's all I mean. I don't mean getting into some, religious fervent state of mind or something, right?
And sometimes you have to make the same mistake a few times.
Oh my God. You always have to make the same mistake a few times. I really hate people who are like, oh yeah, I did that once and I'm never going to do that again. Odds are there were a series of mistakes that you learned from there and made it. Because it's not our nature to learn from our first mistake. It's our nature to rationalize, justify, excuse ourselves, see how we're not at fault. It was the environment. It was other people. That's often how our minds operate, and you can understand why.
Especially the younger you are, the less you know about human behavior,
Well, I'll say the more reflexive you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't think reflexivity requires age. It just so happens that some people, as they get older, get to a place where they realize what idiots they've been most of their life.
Right.
And go, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Some other old people
don't do that.
No, they do not. No, they do not. They double down, triple down, quadruple down on really stupid stuff just because, God damn it, that's right. So here's what I wrote earlier today, and I thought this might kickstart something we could talk about with this today. So let me just read this to you, and then we'll develop this idea and go from there. When I first got involved with all this activism and anti-cult stuff, and as an ex-Scientologist, back in 2013, I was stunned at the variety of experiences and people in the community, and I was really into getting along with all of them. Really, that was honestly my effort. Everybody was a potential friend. Everybody was somebody I could relate to somehow. Everybody had an interesting story to tell, and I was just so interested in everybody. And that's awesome, because that's the new person experience, the glow, the innocence, the dare I say naivety,
Yeah.
right? Of the new bread of the new person. It's like it's all bright and shiny and everything is wonderful, and isn't this awesome? And I don't think I was alone in that experience. I think some of you coming into this, whether you're an ex-religious person or an ex-cult member or you're just watching, I think all of us have experienced that. Well, over time, the rough edges started becoming more obvious. And then I started becoming aware of the disagreements and the feuds and the infighting that would happen. And this was a very gradual process. This took months and months for me to start figuring out and then realizing what was going on. Because there's a little bit of denial. And as I say here, I was very disappointed and even mad at some of these folks for not getting along, for being mad at each other. I was mad at them for being mad at each other, for calling each other names and stuff, right? I was like, oh, hey, guys, hey, right? Like, can't we all just get along? Remember? Can't we all just get along? And I'd rush in, and this is where I made some mistakes, and I'd rush in to defend those I saw who were on my side against those who were so obviously stupid or hateful or off the rails, etc., right? Is this not normal, right? It all seems so obvious and simple. If those losers would just go away, our community would be awesome. See, that was the next tier. That's the first little step in, right? Is like, oh, he's a rabble rouser. He's a troll. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just out to, do this or that or the other thing. Let me tell you all the logical fallacies that I have thought up to explain why I don't need to listen to this guy or this woman, right? They're just bad apples. They're just bad eggs. And if you can be convinced of that, great. Now it's us versus them time, right? Now we have conflict. Now we have divisions and factions. And when you walk in, you're not part of any of that, but you get sort of magnetically drawn one way or the other and here and there. And you don't even know yet what you're getting totally drawn into, but you thought this person was really cool and this person clearly isn't. And so therefore, blah, 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 right? And you start kind of joining in on the activity. You feel compelled to. I sure as hell did. I use I might as well say me.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is I felt very compelled to join in because I thought I was on the side of right and good. Right and good. I am right and good. Da, 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 right?
Yeah, when you feel that way, when anybody feels that way, it's hard to combat that.
Exactly. This is the beginnings of what we will call a cultic mindset. And us versus them, black versus white. This is my way or the highway. This is so obviously right. You are so obviously wrong. How can you not see how wrong you are? It's so obvious. Every time you look in a mirror, you should see it, and you should feel ashamed of how wrong you are. Just you big, stupid idiot, ignoramus, goofhead, right? You big dummy head. How could you not see it? It's so obvious to everybody else. And here we go. Right? Down the rabbit hole we go. It all seems so obvious and simple. Then as time continued to march on, as it will inevitably do, I'd start to become aware that some of those folks who I admired so much had a few scratches and tarnishes in their veneer. And then I got into a really big fight with someone I had really grown to admire. And that was an eye-opener. But I still thought, oh, that's just an outlier. It's just something unusual, right? That person, that one guy, I'm still right in my big fight, right? Even if there are exceptions popping up. Even if there are little red flags telling me maybe this conflict isn't as justified or rational or objectively wrong as I have been led to believe or as I've been thinking. This is Again, baby steps into this mindset of absolutism. More time went on, and I started meeting and interacting with, and this was my break point. This was my break point. More time went on, and I started meeting and interacting with anti-cult activists. Even those from other groups, professionals like Steve Hassan, Rick Ross, right? Other people who were doing what I was doing, Lloyd Evans. Oh my gosh, how am I? I'm so awful that I forget people's names all the time.
I know, I do that too.
It's so awful, especially on the when it's crunch time. But this is where I started seeing things very, very differently, because these Steve Hassan, Rick Ross, some other names of people, Janja Lalich. ICSA, the International Cultic Studies Association, some of the people connected with that activity. There's factions, there's groups, there's infighting. I was like, what? You guys are the anti-cult people. You guys are trained psychologists. You're trained sociologists. Yep. You study this for a living. And you guys still can't get along? Professional jealousy, rivalry. One person who is no longer with us, who was a professional expert witness and didn't want anybody else horning in on her action. So she would go on social media. She actually hired somebody to go on social media and absolutely trounce anybody who was perceived to be a competitor to her for her expert witness testimony, right? This wasn't even related to any cult. These weren't even necessarily ex-cult members, although it's interesting how most working professionals in the anti-cult field were former members, but not all. And I was so disappointed. And then I started learning how they feud too, and how there were outright flame wars and rivalries amongst those who fight cults. And there were factions, and some people even hated others, even though they were all trying to do the same work. And I saw cult-like behavior in the anti-cult world. And I thought, what the hell am I looking at? How is this possible? Well, it shocked me, and it made me very angry and very sad. Slowly, too slowly, I think, I started to realize that people are just people no matter what they've been through, what they are going through now, or what they do for a living. Doesn't matter.
Nope.
At all. And people don't always get along, and there simply isn't anything you can do about that. And I, of course, had adopted my own unrealistic expectation in terms of now where my work comes in on this, right? That these people were all going to get along, and we were going to, kumbaya through this whole thing and rid the world of cults. And that was as silly as thinking I was going to clear the planet by making everybody clear in Scientology. Right? Everybody's going to be on the same page. We're all going to be marching in lockstep. And isn't this exactly how things should be? No, it's not how things should be, because it's not how things are or ever will be outside of a cult. If you want that unity of view and single-mindedness and authoritarian sort of monolithic thinking, and you want everybody on the same page on stuff, start a cult. That's what that is. That's, at the end of the day, that is what a cult is. It's a group of people who are all so unified on the same page that any disagreement with being on that same page is punished.
Right.
Right?
And you start getting weird when it's like that, yeah.
That's right. And what is the thing that all ex-cult members complain about? I wasn't allowed to think my thoughts. I wasn't allowed to act the way I wanted to act. I wasn't able to be who I wanted to be because I had to conform with the cult. Cult told me what to be. The cult told me how to be. The cult told me when to be and where to be. All of those questions were answered for me by the cult. I didn't have to think about it, but when I wanted to start thinking about it, when I wanted to start having some choices, suddenly I didn't have those choices anymore. My choices were bound. They were stopped. That is a cult. And As you know, especially in situations where you'd ever consented or agreed and don't want it. Right? So, so there's a little bit of an interesting problem here, isn't there? I want everybody on the same page. I want everybody agreeing, but oh no, the only place that happens is in really awful, horrible places, which I have been working to get away from. In other words, I've been fighting for and reset my entire life for the sake of being able to be who I want, when I want, where I want, how I want. And now I'm in a community where suddenly I'm being told, you don't get to do that. How dare you? Right? You don't get to be yourself. You don't get to say what's on your mind. You don't get to be who you are, when you want, how you want. You have to conform with everybody else in the group. And a lot of ex-cult members start flipping the fuck out when you say stuff like this to them.
Oh, sure.
Because this is the exact thing they were fighting against and getting away from the cult for, only to land in a new group and suddenly
doing the same thing.
All this crap is going on again, right? It's really eye-opening, and it was for me. I mean, this was years ago. This all happened and has been moving forward since then, and so there's more here, right? And that's when I started thinking about why people join cults in the first place and why they get out of them. And I realized that the variety of people who join Scientology is nearly infinite. Just the variety. If we look at the spectrum of people from blue collar, not so, educated, sometimes even coming from poor backgrounds or poor current events, all the way through middle class, all the way through up, rich people, egotistical people, altruistic people. You can find Scientologists all across that spectrum. It tends to push people toward the narcissistic side, but you find people, I would classify myself as one of these people, in Scientology who are in it for other people. They weren't in it for themselves as much as they were for others. Other people are 100% the opposite direction and always were. And it is an interesting, one of the things I had to learn coming out of Scientology is how I would project my own experiences and intentions and goals on other ex-Scientologists and think that's what they were there for too. Nope, that's not why they were there at all. And isn't that an interesting revelation, right? What? You mean everybody had a different experience? Yes, they did. In fact, the variety of people who join Scientology is nearly infinite, and often these people have nothing in common at all except for joining Scientology. So why, to pose even another question into this mix, so why it suddenly occurred to me, would they have anything in common after they leave Scientology? If they didn't have anything in common before, why would they have anything in common after? Except, of course, for having a Scientology experience. Whoever said that just because we are all in the same group or shared the same beliefs at one time, whoever said that we should now all be friends, right? Or even get along. Why would that be a thing, It wouldn't. Sometimes some of us, stripped of the Scientology, couldn't be more different in a real world situation, right? And after you do this for a number of years, like I have, like other creators have, and you meet everybody, you know, it's a small group. I mean, it's not like there's a lot of people in this. Even with the recent, abundance of YouTube channels starting up, we still all kind of know each other in one degree or another, and often we've met in real life. And you know when you're clicking with somebody and when you're not. You know when you're connecting. And it's a weird feeling to be on the same side and yet totally not connect with somebody personally. And in fact, it really sucks when they start, or, I start in on something that means something significant or important to me, and they ain't having any of it.
Nope.
Right? They don't agree with it in any way, shape, or form and think that I am actually completely off the rails, or I think they are completely off the rails. And whoa, maybe we're not so on the same team, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy. But this then becomes a problem because we're all supposed to be on the same team, right? And this also, I talked about trauma last week. Like, like what brings that trauma back in? What triggers it? Stuff like this happening. Not just conflict, but these kind of problems and issues, these interpersonal issues, can really start kicking it in, because you're like, oh God, now this individual who I thought I was on the same team with is now saying something ideological or religious or culture war value-wise that is absolutely antithetical to my viewpoints and beliefs about things. Therefore, I would normally want to destroy this person. You know? And then you have to, oh God, now I want to destroy somebody. And sometimes even ex-cult members, right? Mm-hmm. They don't see it for what it is, and they just go on a tear, right? Because here comes all that trauma I was talking about. Here comes that triggering. And here comes the need to destroy, which comes straight out of that cult mindset that they haven't quite gotten over.
Right.
And even if you do get over it, you're still tempted to go there because it's just human. Right? The bigger, the stronger, the harder, the more strong the disagreement, the less we want to have to do with each other, right? Which is why I'm really glad, for some reason, early on, just because I'm totally going to toot my own horn for a second, totally going to do this. Why I was so happy, and I'm still happy to this day, that from the very start, I grabbed onto and really pushed tolerance, understanding, compassion, right? Empathy, right? Get where people are at. Get where they're at, not how you think they should be at or where they should be at, but where are they really at? Because that's the person right in front of you, not the picture or the bullshit or
not
the,
who you want them to be. Yeah.
The expectation.
Yeah.
Right? How dare you not be the expectation of what
I had of you? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how pissed people can get at you when you don't meet their expectations.
Yeah.
It's really something. And if they can't see past that and realize that there should be compassion and understanding and tolerance for other viewpoints and other ideas, and then proceed to model the exact opposite of that behavior, you're like, oh my God, what's going on? And it is very, very, very difficult to move forward at all. It's again, your choices are being bound. You're being blocked up, right? You're like, oh God, I'm supposed to like this guy. I have to work with this person, but I hate them. But I'm supposed to not hate them. I'm supposed to like them. But they say things and do things that absolutely drive me crazy. I know, but I'm supposed to like them. And this is exactly what it's like in a cult. Mm-hmm. This constant back and forth of nonsense that goes on in your head, trying to constantly rationalize and make the environment make sense to you, or make other people make sense to you when they aren't there to make sense to you.
Right. It's humans, because, any job that you're at, there's going to be people you don't get along with, and you still have to freaking work with them. I feel like I went through this experience when I started getting into the secular and atheist community. I thought we were all going to be on the same page and have the same beliefs. We were going to have the same politics. We were going to, and it's such a vast world. There's people all over the political spectrum. There's people that, although they call themselves secular or an atheist or whatever, they still believe in some stuff. There's people that are just totally against everything, and it's just all over the map. And there are people I started to not get along with and stuff like that too, and it's just like, we're not all the same in any group.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing, right? If we're going to avoid a cult mindset in the ex-cult world, we have got to practice what we preach. Okay? This is really the bottom line sort of communication here in this show tonight, is you guys know how to avoid a cult mindset because we talk to you guys about what a cult mindset is all the time. Mm-hmm. Right? I've laid it out here. I've laid it out, in even more grim detail in so many places, right? It's the us versus them. It's the black and white. It's the have a leader and the leader is all and you are kind of not as much. Or there's a central agenda, you could say, right? That people can reunite around. But this, this business of always have to be on the same page, That's culty, right? We have got to appreciate and this is probably, this could be looked at through a left-wing progressive window when I say this, but I really don't mean to say it that way. I'm not making an ideological argument when I say to everybody that the way you avoid a cult mindset is you truly tolerate a diversity, a variety of views. And by tolerate, I mean listen, understand, acknowledge, right? Like, there it is. And if it isn't harmful or outright destructive, then what do you care?
Right.
Who cares? Right? You can talk about it. Talk about the differences if you can do so rationally, calmly, right? Let's just talk about this, right?
When it comes to something like our political leaders or people that are making a decision about something and you have different ideas, you have to learn to compromise. You know?
That's where it goes. That's the word that makes our entire country work, is compromise. It's a heady, difficult, almost impossible thing to do when you are talking to somebody you rabidly disagree with, which is why it's the exact opposite of being culty. Right? Being culty is what people are sort of drawn to. They think that's the right way to be. Get along, be on this team. Everybody's moving in lockstep. Everybody's on the same page all the time. Like, that's where people think we should be. Because the opposite of that is
hard.
Yeah, very hard. And some people rightly, in some instances might, take it all the way slippery slope and go, oh, anarchy. You just want anarchy and confusion. And it's like, no. I don't want no order. But, the things we all agree on are things the human rights, stuff like that. We agree. We all tend to agree on those things. That's kind of why we can all acknowledge human rights are a thing, is because most of us agree that that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like you can't have no agreement or all you have to be some crazy individual just for the sake of being an individual. The point is that if you want to avoid a cult mindset in yourself or generating it in other people, then the number one skill set you have to develop is tolerance, compassion, empathy, understanding, right? And this all falls under John Stuart Mill on liberty, an example, a great historic example of some of the best critical thinking and best free speech advocacy out there is John Stuart Mill's On Liberty. And in there, he talks about how if you're going to debate or work against or try to, or be in opposition to someone else, it would behoove you, it would be the best possible thing for you to be able to articulate their viewpoint, their argument better than they can. Short of that, be able to explain it back to them in such a way that they go, yes, you got it. Enthusiastically, you totally understand exactly what I'm saying. If you can explain their position to them so they respond that way, you nailed it. And you don't have to, in the middle of all this tolerance, compassion, and understanding.
Yeah, you don't have to agree.
You don't have to agree. Exactly. Agree is not a synonym for tolerate, be compassionate towards, or understand. Agree has got nothing to do with it. But we hardly ever let ourselves get into a headspace where we even understand exactly what the other person is saying or thinking or trying to accomplish or do, right? Because we know already how wrong they are. I don't have to listen to you. Mm-hmm. I don't have to understand you. I already know, without being able to articulate your position, all about your position. And I already understand how wrong you are because you're just not thinking the way I'm thinking. And that's where most people's logic kind of stops, is right there. Well, you don't agree with me, so clearly you're wrong. So therefore, I don't need to understand a goddamn thing.
Yeah, I mean, we all do it, yeah.
Right? I think we all know that we do that.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not empathy, compassion, tolerance, or understanding. So if you want to have those things, and most people do, if you're not psychotic or troll or, some narcissist, you're going to want those things. That's not even like a controversial statement.
Right.
But you can't have those things if you don't model those things, and if you don't push for those things, and if you don't see in yourself and other people when they are going in the opposite direction from that. Okay. So I think that is how you avoid a cult mindset. And that's the light bulb that turned on for me was this idea of, oh, right, whoever said we all had to share the same beliefs or be on the same page, now that we're out of the group that forced us all to be on the same page and be friends and get along, right? Now that we're not doing that, why would we all suddenly be this way? So this is not obviously no statement or, contention that that I want fighting or division. I just think fighting and division is a natural, organic thing that's going to happen no matter what I want. Mm-hmm. And for me to fret about it, freak out about it, lose sleep over it, tear my hair out over it, probably not a good idea, because it's going to happen no matter how you feel about it or how much you fret about it. Right? Conflict is just as natural as eating and sleeping. Mm-hmm. Right? Because it's all about disagreeing, and it's all about having your own thoughts and thinking and feeling. So that's what I wanted to kind of throw out today. You guys, let me know what you think. I see we have a call in the queue. Let's phase over to some calls for the last quarter of the show here and see what we got. Hello, is this Darla?
Can you?
What happened?
Hi, guys. How you doing?
I'm good.
Hello.
Hi, Mel. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the show. Sorry, I was messing with the volume here trying to fix Mel's headphones, but welcome to the show. What you got for us today, Darla?
First of all, I want a couple things.
Yep.
That Benson is, okay. My daughter has a dog who she rescued, but Oscar is now going on to be 15 years old. Mm. But he lost his eye. Call him one-eyed Oscar. But, he's not a thorough, he's not a purebred. But the way that you're talking about, if it suits him, then all is good and well. When he, if you want him to do come, no, I'm not going to come. Right. That's one thing I want to say about Dog Benson. And yes, that is so funny. But I wonder, Chris, do you move him?
Do I?
Whenever he goes and stuff, do you move him?
Oh, do I move him?
Oh, yeah. When he sits on the couch, we move him over to the middle.
Yeah. Of course, I'll pick him up, or I'll tell him to move over. I try to get him to do it with verbal commands first, and if he just sits and stares at me, and he knows exactly what I'm saying to him to do. But if he just sits and stares at me, I will pick him up and gently move him over.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean beat him or anything like that. But what I was going to say is that if we give in to our dogs, then they do become the alpha.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just going to say that, But I'm sure you're learning. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was this. I know your channel is directed, specifically for the cult. However, I watch you for, a very dysfunctional, traumatized,
sure.
Relationship with a parent. And that I had fought for, 57 years, trying to, with a cognitive dissonance and, the always being the one that was making the being made to feel wrong to the point where, and I'm such the type of personality where when I also was raised Italian Catholic and went to Catholic school, and so I have this whole mind, talk about brainwash bullshit. And, so it wasn't until, and I hope you don't judge me for this, but when my mama died, mm-hmm. The first thing I felt was relief.
Mm-hmm.
because it was over.
Mm-hmm.
It was over. The game, like you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
that the mental trauma that I had gone through for all those years, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, I could run and I could hide and I won't go on and on and on. But what I do want to say is that I do watch you because a lot of the things that you talk about, you know, like treating, and I carry this on with my own, I have a daughter of my own. And, you know, I have tried to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Try not to do the things that my mom did. I try to have the patience, the tolerance, the openness,
Mm-hmm.
Just basically unconditional love, you know, and also the openness for Sierra Rose to come and, you know, know that there's an open door here that is, you know, where she's not going to be judged for
Mm-hmm.
any particular reason. It's not to say that I'm not going to disagree with her,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because there are plenty of things that we disagree on, you know, but, you know, in the end, is it really worth a relationship, one that you truly, truly want in your life?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so making your own decisions, you know, and, you know, I just can't even stress how much better the relationship between me and my daughter has also gotten since my mother passed. And I know all this is really shitty things to talk about.
Oh yeah, no.
And I'm not going to take up
Let me.
like 4 of your.
Yeah, no, Darla, you're great. You're fine. Okay, I don't have any judgment on you right now at all, and I want to actually say, one, thanks for calling in and telling us this and opening up like this. I really appreciate it. And two, I only when people tell me things like what you have said, where you know there is relief, there's like you know some degree of like catharsis even in in an abusive person or a not so great person no longer being in your life. My only reaction is not to judge the person saying that. It's to go, God, what a shame that it was that way. And that's a very different thing, I hope, from, you know, judging you, because I don't judge you at all. I totally understand how getting away from a bad element in your life or having that removed from it permanently, you know, it's something you want. I understand that.
And I kind of get it in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say I understand because when my grandma passed a few years ago, I had already been estranged from that side of my family for like 5 years. And so I'd already kind of grieved that loss. So it was like when I found out she had passed away, it wasn't as sad about it as, you know, some of the other deaths in my life. And it was just kind of like, oh, okay, good. Now that part is done, you know? So
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's so weird, you know, is like, I mean, I mean, I'm just going to say a couple more things and then I'll get off here. But, you know, but first of all, you know, like it got to the point where my father raised me, and there were many times, you know, got custody of me and my brother. And, you know, there were times like when she would be in my life, but most of the time she wasn't in my life. And she was, she was a true narcissist, but she did go, I truly believe, undiagnosed with some type of mental illness. And that is the only compassion at this point that I have been able to get to. Here it is 5 years later.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't know as though I'm ever going to be able to completely understand to the point where I can, you know, respect her and love her, and, you know, because there's way more that I could tell you.
Absolutely.
You know, you deserve $100 an hour.
Right. No, Darla,
you know,
believe me, I get it. I totally do.
But
you know, so you know, and obviously when we're talking about, let me take this opportunity to just mention one more thing about what I was talking about earlier, is it's not my goal in saying these things to give the idea or impression that we should be getting along with predators or narcissists, because that's pretty much almost impossible unless you're like a trained professional. And even then, these people are endlessly digging on you. You know what I mean? So I want to be clear that sometimes, you know, just getting the person out of your life is the right thing to do.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, just to put that out there.
Oh, you know, I would, you know, and I mean, I was in therapy. You know, like journaled. I mean, it went clear across, you know, I mean, traveled for 10 years of my life, and, you know, on and on and on I could go on. But I'm just saying that, you know, like, yes, finally it was the universe's way of just saying, look, you know, me, I'd had enough, like, you know, like I was going to break. I truly was going to break.
Right.
So,
exactly.
you know, they took her for me.
I totally,
but I
totally
am
get
doing
it.
better. I'm doing better, and I just, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is that, you know, like why I watch you is because even though you're not strictly about cults, but, you know, a parent can do the exact same shit to a kid and cause just as much trauma and shit that you deal with to try to get out of it, as what L. Ron Hubbard and what the Catholic Church did to me. And I had an aunt who was a fucking Jehovah's Witness that I tried to go to her, and she just made it worse.
Oh, no doubt about that.
No wonder I tried to commit suicide at one time. Okay, I'm going to let you go on that.
Okay.
And, you know,
got it. Totally got it. Well, thanks for calling in, Darla.
I'm really sorry for taking up your time, and I always enjoy you guys.
Good. Well, I enjoy your comments and your support and your feedback, and thank you very much for calling in and sharing with us today. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, bye, Melissa.
Bye-bye. All right, cool. Oh, all right. I think that'll do it.
Okay, that's a little too low.
All right, try that.
All right, let's go. Let's try that.
Good.
Yeah,
We're gonna try that. We're gonna take another call here in the queue. This will be the last call for tonight.
Yeah.
Is this Kelly?
Hi, Chris. Hi, Melissa.
Hello.
Hey, thanks for calling in. What you got for us, Kelly?
Kelly Cross. Yeah. Hey, I'm so glad our conversation earlier turned into a topic. That's
right?
Awesome.
Yeah, it's all your fault.
It is. It's great. I was like, oh my God, they're talking about what they.
Yeah.
Great. No. I've been kind of thinking about this too. It's like, you know, I hated anybody fighting within this community because I'm a big watcher, you know, big supporter, because you don't want them to fight each other because what they're fighting is so evil, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's kind of like the same way about like how I feel about politics. Like I'm a Democrat. Like we can't fight amongst each other.
Right.
We fight these fascists.
Right.
You know?
Totally been there.
It's such a hard thing, you know?
Yeah.
But I guess because the anti-Scientology, you know, anti-cult movement is so huge right now, I guess it's just bound to happen.
Exactly. You know? Exactly. And it's a thing of, see, and here's the thing, you can tell me what you think about this, but because I've had, I think over this last decade of doing all this, I believe I have probably experienced every emotion there is to experience about this, every attitude there is, from disgust and anger and, you know, rage, even to acceptance and understanding, and okay, people are going to be different, we're just going to have to deal with that. And I think it's a good thing to go in that direction, to realize that it's okay. It doesn't have to be a bad thing that we're not all kumbaya, right? Because I'm not trying to justify or set up reasons why it's okay for us to tear each other down or hate each other either. And I hope that came across in today's monologue. What did that come across okay?
It did.
Good. Okay.
Unfortunately, I had to leave. When I came back, I was like, oh my God, he's talking. So I have to watch it again now.
Oh, no worries. Okay, good. Well, it's very important to
All
me
right,
that
you
I
guys
not.
have a lovely night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry.
No. It's all good, Kelly. I appreciate your call. So
Yeah.
thanks for that, and we'll wrap up the show.
All right. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right. Yeah, she's the one who's sort of. Oh, you could take the headphones off.
Yeah, she started this whole thing.
She started this whole thing. It's all her, it's all Kelly's fault. No, I just wanted to be really clear that I wasn't saying anything tonight in order to try to justify or rationalize being awful to each other.
Right.
That's why I went in the direction of the compassion, tolerance, understanding, right? Is like, let's not be awful to each other, but at the same time, let's not have unreal expectations or try to turn the ex-cult world into its own little cult where we're going to have everybody on the same page or, and I didn't really go there too much with this today, but let's not develop cults of personality in the ex-cult world either. Right? And I say this, and we're going to do this. It's going to happen. It's already happened. Mm-hmm. But it's something we should be fighting against. If there is one thing that we could do better at, it's being better at not being culty with each other in the ex-cult world. And if the trained professionals get up to it, and they do, then you can understand what a big ask this is, how hard this is for people to do. It's not easy to be introspective and realize that you're making mistakes. It's not easy to then acknowledge those mistakes, and then it's not easy to acknowledge them publicly, and then it's not easy to change your behavior as a result and try to do better in the future. None of those things are easy to do. If they were easy to do, everybody would do it, and it wouldn't be a problem. But hardly, I'm not going to say hardly anybody does it, but not enough people do it.
Yeah.
Right? And you brought up the atheist community. It's no different there. Mm-hmm. You'll find all kinds of feuds and factions and people hating on each other for different things. Sometimes even, you're just not good enough of an atheist.
Right.
You're just not good enough of an atheist as far as I'm concerned. So therefore, you're, blah, 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 right? Yeah, groups are, as they say,
Groups
exactly,
are definitely
Susie. Groups
tough,
are tough. They are. Right, because it's one mind versus many minds, and we're not built to stand up and resist that. Mm-hmm. We're built to go with the flow. Mm-hmm. We're built to do the herd thing, to follow the flock, to follow the leader. That's what we're built to do. That's why this takes so much effort and work, and why history is such a. I mean, if I'm going to go really to the awful, but. This is why history is the way that, littered with corpses, is because people make a practice of not trying to understand each other, but just do away with each other when there is a conflict. And I think we can do better.
Yes.
I really, really think we can do better than that. So that was the whole point of tonight's show. Always want to, sometimes I feel like I talk too much. Other times I feel like I'm not clarifying myself enough.
Okay.
So if I am going on too long about that, well, there you go. We've run a little bit over, so let's go ahead and wrap up the show for tonight.
Let's do it.
Okay. Critical thinking cards. First off, of course, what do we have for this evening?
Oh, here we go. This is always a good one. Sunk cost fallacy. You irrationally cling to things that have already cost you something. When we've invested our time, money, or emotion into something, it hurts to let it go. Ask yourself, had I not already invested in something, would I still do it now?
Would I still do it now? Scientology. Would I still do it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't think so. I got a real treat for you guys tomorrow. Podcast dropping, 2.5-hour talk between me and Mitch Brisker. The guy who recently has been appearing in the Scientology world. We talk about propaganda. We talk about some more propaganda. And then we talk about even more propaganda in and out of Scientology. Oh, so much propaganda. That's coming to you tomorrow. Watch for that. I think you guys will enjoy it. It is a real... it took me most of the day to edit it because it's so long. And I really hope I think you guys are going to love this thing. Planning on doing a pre-recorded Q&A this week. That's my plan right now. But, the great thing...
See what happens.
Exactly. The thing I've come to say is, you're just going to have to watch and see.
Yeah.
On the podcast, by the way, this is going to be episode, Sensibly Speaking, podcast number 396.
Wow.
So 7, 8, 9, number 400, 4 episodes about a month from now.
Wow.
Right? A month from tomorrow, we're going to have episode number 500 of the Sensibly Speaking podcast. I'll probably do it live.
Yay.
And we'll see what we are going to bring to that. It should be fun, should be interesting. And I got to figure all of it out to make it fun and interesting. So in the meantime, you'll get what you get. All right. And then we're going to have Sunday recording. Yeah. So Monday, usual after Scientology. So that's the lineup. And with all of that, did we have any other points we needed to?
I think we covered everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want you all to have a fantastic weekend. Please. Critical weekend, a critically good one. And feel free to support, share, like, subscribe, join. All of those verbs apply to this channel and this show. Remember, we are 100% fan funded. I very much appreciated the super chats today.
Yes, thank you.
And the comments on them. In fact, there was one I did not comment on. Yes, Linda, thank you very much for your super chat today. All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Good night.